They're dead, man.
Akron, Ohio. Once the heart of the American rubber industry, the balloon capital of the world, one fatal mistake turned an elderly man into one of the most prolific arson killers in Ohio history. In April 2016. On the surface, nothing signaled disaster. Stanley Ford was no longer young. He was 57 at the time. He lived with his wife and daughters in a 2-story house at the corner of Fultz and Hillcrest. He owned 2 adjacent properties. He kept an eye on the neighborhood and liked to say that God had placed him there to watch over the area. But still waters run deep. Ford had tense relationships with some of his neighbors. His most intense conflict was with the residents of 719 Fultz Street. That house was home to 66-year-old Lindell Lewis and his 65-year-old girlfriend, Gloria Hart. According to neighbors, the men constantly clashed. Ford accused Lewis and his tenants of vandalism, broken windows, scratches on his car. Chester Williams, a neighbor living across the street, was so worried about Lewis that he aimed one of his security cameras directly at 719 Fultz. "I didn't want him to get hurt," Williams would later say in court. He sensed trouble coming. And trouble came. On the night of April 18, 2016, around 3 a.m., surveillance cameras captured a male figure on the street. The figure crossed Fultz Street repeatedly. The person was carrying some kind of container. He approached 719 Fultz, splashed liquid, and tried to set the porch on fire. First try, nothing. Second try, the flame went out. But the arsonist was persistent. He ran back across the street, disappearing into the shadows of 2 houses owned by Stanley Ford, then returned. At 3:34 a.m. on the 3rd attempt, the flames erupted. The house had 2 exits. One person renting the basement managed to jump out and escape. But Lindell Lewis and Gloria Hart were trapped. Firefighters arrived just minutes later, at 3:44 a.m. But it was already too late. The fire was so intense that crews couldn't even enter. The elderly couple suffocated in the smoke, never waking up. Police launched an investigation. Suspicion fell on Stanley Ford almost immediately. The neighbor, Chester Williams, handed over his security footage to detectives. The video showed commotion around Ford's properties at the time of the fire, but direct evidence was lacking. The figure on the recording was blurry. The face was not visible. In conversations with detectives, Ford remained calm. He stated, "I don't play with fire." When asked why he was walking around the street in the middle of the night, Ford replied evasively, "I forgot why I went out there." He claimed he was being framed. But due to a lack of clear evidence, they couldn't arrest Ford at the time. That was a fatal mistake, one that would cost 7 more lives.
This night would be different. This night would plunge the once peaceful city of Akron into sheer terror. In the early hours of April 18th, close to 3:33 a.m., CCTV footage captured a man walking in the direction that led directly to Lindell's house. And moments later, tragedy would strike the house of Lindell Lewis. Because he was in a hurry to escape, this first attempt at setting the house on fire had failed and the flames died out, prompting the arsonist to make a return for a second time to make sure he finished the job. At around 3:40 a.m. and approximately 3 minutes after this second round of dousing the house with what appears to be gasoline, a raging fire would swallow up the entirety of Lindell's house. This was an early Monday morning and most people in Lane Worcester neighborhood were asleep preparing for work. No one would have been awake to see who this masked arsonist was.
A year passed. Neighbors had begun to forget the terrible fire. But Stanley Ford, as would later become clear, was only growing angrier. Now his rage was aimed at 693 Fultz Street, the same street. A large, happy family lived there. Dennis Huggins, 35, his girlfriend, Angela Boggs, 38, and their 5 Steffi. Ford complained to me about those kids. He thought they were knocking the mirrors off cars in the yard. She said he was mildly annoyed. Mildly annoyed. Those words would be quoted by every news outlet once the scale of the tragedy became known. On the night of May 15, 2017, history repeated itself with horrifying precision. Same neighborhood, same time, around 3 a.m. But this time, there were more victims, and the crime was more monstrous. Prosecutors reconstructed the timeline. Stanley Ford walked back and forth on Fulton Street again and again. Video showed a hooded figure running past cameras 3 times, entering and exiting Ford's properties. Then, a bright flash. 693 Fultz went up like a matchstick. 7 people were sleeping inside, including an infant. All died of smoke inhalation. The family dog also perished. On the morning of May 15, 2017, the city of Akron plunged into mourning. Police knew who to look for. A search was conducted at Stanley Ford's home. Investigators seized gas cans, lighter fluid, and clothes stained with chemicals. A trained accelerant detection dog named India, working for the state fire marshal's office, sat down at the entrance to Ford's home. She alerted to the presence of accelerants on his clothing, black sweatpants and a jacket. This time, Ford was arrested. He was charged with 22 counts of aggravated murder. Prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty. Summit County Prosecutor Sherry Bevan Walsh said, "Stanley Ford is a coward. He used the darkness to hide his rage. He claimed he was an angel sent by God, but instead, he killed people he didn't like." You have to understand who Stanley Ford was. In court and in investigative files,
Say that I hate having to put you out there like that. Like all of
That
you.
was terrible. Like, what the heck?
You cuss, that's my first language. But I was worried because they said you live down there. And
Because I was over my auntie's house, did a job for her.
Now, what's her name?
Shit. Williams. I forgot her last name. She worked across the street, back there.
Okay. Now, I ain't trying to, stir your brain, because the main reason I want to find you, make sure, one, that you safe and you okay, and to find
I
out.
didn't know nothing about it until my sister then called me. And Mr. Hughley called me.
And what would they say?
They said the house burned down. But they didn't tell me nothing about nobody got hurt in there. And then my best friend.
What you talking about, Linda?
this is a classic profile of a vigilante who takes the law into his own hands. His motive wasn't personal gain. It was a thirst for restoring order by radical means. His actions confirm this. He didn't just set a house on fire. He did it knowing children were inside. He did it at night when people were defenseless. He returned to the crime scene a year later because his control mania demanded that he eliminate a new source of irritation: a family with noisy children.
People was just bad people. I didn't do nothing to them people. Them people were just mean. I mean, listen here. When they moved up here, Tanisha, they stole everything that wasn't voted down. They stole everything from people. Everything.
Well, Mr. Ford, this is my concern.
What's your concern?
Is that how to make people believe that it wasn't you?
I'm telling you, listen, Tanisha, you either take my word or you don't. That's all I can tell you.
Well, we do have another option.
What's that?
The polygraph.
The trial of Stanley Ford did not begin until 2021, delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first attempt in 2020 fell apart because potential jurors were afraid of infection. But in the second attempt, justice was relentless. The star witness for the prosecution was video forensic expert Bradley Barkhurst. He meticulously broke down, frame by frame, the night of the 2017 fire for the jury. Barkhurst showed that the arsonist didn't just run down the street. He entered and exited properties owned by Ford, 1370 and 1374 Hillcrest. The analysis showed that lights in those houses turned on and off in sync with the arsonist's movements. But the most damning piece of evidence was the security alarm system. At 1374 Hillcrest, a house once owned by Ford's deceased mother and used by him as storage, an alarm system was installed and connected to a monitoring center. On the night of each fire, the alarm was disarmed using Stanley Ford's personal access code. Then, hours later, after the fire was extinguished, it was rearmed using his code again. Ford tried to defend himself. His lawyers argued that the arsonist's face wasn't visible on video, so they couldn't prove it was him. Moreover, they offered an alternative theory. It turned out that Angela Boggs's estranged husband, a man named Patrick Boggs, had previously been jailed for threatening to set his wife on fire. One inmate even claimed that Patrick bragged about killing the family because he was enraged that his wife had left him for a black man. Detectives investigated that claim. Patrick Boggs's alibi was ironclad. Security footage and cell tower data proved that at the time of the fire, he was at his own apartment, not on Fulton Street. His description of how he would have set the fire didn't match the forensic expert's findings. Patrick Boggs was innocent.
I don't know what time it was, and sometimes like I explained to him, I exercise, I get Charlie horses. Right? Sometimes I walk the street and back, you know what I mean? Something like that, but I didn't do that fire, man. I ain't gonna sit and accept that.
1st, 2021. The jury deliberated for only a short time. Stanley Ford was found guilty on all 26 counts. Judge Christine Croce found him guilty of murdering 9 people. Then came the most dramatic phase, sentencing. The prosecution had sought the death penalty. Ohio is one of the states where the electric chair and lethal injection remain legal forms of punishment. It seemed like a just end for a man who killed 5 children in their sleep. But the jury showed mercy. Mercy that the defendant himself had never shown. After long deliberations, they recommended that the court sentence Ford to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On October 25, 2021, Judge Christine Croce handed down the sentence. Ford received 9 consecutive life sentences, plus an additional 21 years. Mathematically, this means Stanley Ford will spend multiple lifetimes behind bars. He will die in prison. Moreover, the judge took an unprecedented step. She ordered that Ford be held in solitary confinement on specific dates, the birthdays of the murdered children and the anniversaries of the fires. Prosecutor Walsh would later say, "I can't imagine the evil you have to have in you to set a house on fire knowing children are inside." Ford deserves to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Let's see if we can't get Sergeant Butler to come in and schedule a polygraph.
Okay.
I'll call you and schedule it.
No, it's his schedule.
We got a polygraph
It's his
operator
schedule.
here. We're going to bring him in here and he's going to schedule it with you. Set up an appointment.
Oh my God. This is nuts. I'm about to have a fucking heart attack from you, man.
Listen, man. We're trying to help here. We're not.
I know. Well, if I can help you, I will. I swear to God, I will.
Well, if you need to get something off your chest and let us know something that you know, you will feel a whole lot better that you're our key to information about who's
Why me? Why y'all putting it on me? I wasn't even
because you
there.
lived in the house for 2 years.
Yeah, but I was never there, homie.
And you're saying that you don't know or have heard anything about any
I was not. I haven't been here long enough to hear
the
this.
car fire that happened in 2013 and you were in the house. You have no clue of who may have
You're
started.
saying nobody gave any names.
No scenarios, no theories, no nothing.
It's just not plausible, sir.
I mean, that just goes on in a normal conversation. Who do you think did this?
I don't know.
That's just part of a normal conversation.
Even though Garrett just agreed to the polygraph, just moments later, he would have second thoughts.
Mr. Garrett, this is Sergeant Butler.
How you doing, sir?
They're saying you want to take a polygraph.
Why don't take a polygraph for Henry?
You just said you would. You volunteered. You said, while we at it, let me take a polygraph.
I didn't say that. I said
Is that what he said?
What he said?
I said I would if I needed to.
Well, it's coming down to a need.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk to the sergeant here. He'll explain it. Is this something that you'd be willing to do? Is take a polygraph?
No, I changed my mind. That ain't working. Why is that working like that?
You volunteered.
I didn't mean that. I said I might.
You're telling us you sleep. We signed warrants for you because, like I said in the car before, if I prove it, we proved it. Y'all believe that I did it? No, we proved that you done it. I didn't do that. I wouldn't have dared to did that, man.
Well, you want me to explain your charges to you, or do you want
to
explain them?
I didn't do it. I'm serious. I didn't do it. I'm not gonna admit to that. I didn't do it. If I did, I admit to it. I didn't do that.
Let me explain your charges.
Go ahead.
Okay. You have 7 counts of aggravated murder.